So here's a letter that I received. Dear Davey Wavy, you talk a lot about gay sex, and this of course is true. So I wanted to ask you about a situation involving my boyfriend. He won't bottom. So I wanted to see if you could give me some advice. From Mark. Hey Mark, I actually don't even need these to read, but I think it gives the illusion of intelligence. So bottoming and topping, right? Like we all know there's guys that prefer to do one or the other, maybe both. Some people are fluid with it, some people are very stagnant. I think there's a difference between someone who prefers to top and someone who outright refuses to bottom. In our world of gay sex, topping is not just a sex position, right? It is not just sticking your dick inside another man's ass, it's also a symbol. And it's a symbol that means some very specific things to a whole bunch of people. Topping represents masculinity, it represents control, it represents dominance, and those are characteristics, wrongly of course, that our society would associate with being a man. Now bottoming, on the other hand, is also a symbol, and it's something that carries with it, I would say, a lot of stigma. Characteristics that come to mind, it's a more receptive role, so I think it's seen as more feminine, more vulnerable, more submissive, and those are characteristics that, again, wrongly, our society would associate with women. And in a society which routinely undervalues women, it's no surprise that those characteristics are also undervalued. So, not to get like crazy and academic about it, but like if we're gonna look at gay sex through the lens of society, which is very misogynistic and heteronormative, then it's easy to see why, for a man, bottoming can be really scary. Not to mention, like, speaking of society has told us as gay men over and over and over again that our sex is evil, that it's wrong, that it's unnatural. And I can sit here and say until the cows come home that, like, I don't believe that. But when you hear that over and over again, especially during like your formative years growing up, it does have some impact. And I think it's fair to say that as gay men, some of us have a certain level of internalized homophobia. Some of us, I think, have learned to hate that gayness in ourselves. We can't suppress our attraction to other men, but we can let the expression of that attraction be in the straightest way possible, which of course would be in topping. You know, as a man, it is easy to top. You show up, you get your dick hard, and you stick it in the hole. But bottoming is difficult. It's difficult because you have to deal with shit. And I don't mean poop. You have to deal with societal shit, societal norms, you have to wrestle with things. It requires you as a man to become vulnerable and to give up control. Also, like, let's not forget, beyond the stigma of bottoming, there's also trauma. Like, a lot of men, gay, straight, or otherwise, have been sexually abused, and bottoming can trigger some of that stuff. So my advice to you is that this is complicated and it requires having a very honest conversation with your partner. And in my head, I can see this playing out and I can see him being like, well, I just don't like bottoming. Like, that doesn't cut it. Like, let's be a little bit vulnerable. Even a conversation about bottoming requires vulnerability. And if your partner isn't at least willing to do that, then he's probably not worth bottoming for. Thanks so much for watching, and as always, more to come.